Hello! Welcome to Wheel Talk. I'm Recappa Sedai. Today we're going to talk about The Eye of the World, Chapter 19, Shadows Waiting. We haven't even started the recap and I already have hair in my mouth. So, spoiler-free recap. Lan leads Moraine's carpool into the city of Shadar Logoth. And Shadar Logoth is a full-on Monet. From far away it looks okay, but up close it's a big old mess. Vines are growing through cracks in paving stones and walls. Most of the buildings have collapsed. The buildings that still stand are huge and topped with giant domes. Rand is super impressed. Whoa. Moraine stops in front of a white stone building. This will do. Lan tells them to bring the horses inside, which is no problem since the doorway is huge. They go inside into this huge room. Lan makes a place for Moraine to sleep. Nynaeve is taking out her herbs, telling Lan, "I help anyone who needs it, even if I don't like them." Have I made it clear that I don't like you, Moraine? Because, no joke, I do not like you. The boys follow Tom into another room and start to unsaddle the horses. Matt is kind of staring off into space. Are you okay? I was just thinking about what I shouted back there and what Moraine said. Maybe you're Aemon, come again. Tom leaves to smoke his pipe and Matt's like, "So, who wants to explore the city?" Aren't you forgetting the Trollocs? Lan said they wouldn't come in here. You need to listen to what people say. We should ask Moraine. We obviously can't ask Moraine because she'll say no. Duh. He does have a point. A door opens to an alley and the boys leave quietly so no one in the front room will hear them. It's a relief to see that they're really thinking this through. Matt is living his best life, dragging Rand and Perrin along, trying to see as much of the city as possible. They climb over massive fountains and through giant ruined buildings. Everything they see is falling apart. Finally, even Matt gets tired, so they sit on the steps in front of a tall building and debate what to do. Let's just go back and sleep. You can sleep anytime. Let's look for treasure. I've said it on Wheel Talk before, but it bears repeating. Matt is 19. There isn't any treasure here, Matt. There could be treasure, you don't know. Anyway, I want to climb that tower over there. Let's go. They hear a voice behind them. The towers are not safe. A man stands in the shadows at the top of the stairs. Forgive me, I've been inside so long, my eyes are not used to the light. Who are you? I am Mordeth. Seriously? Okay. There has been no one in Aridhol for a long time. I would not have thought to find 3 young men here. We're on our way to Caemlyn. We stopped to take shelter for the night. Caemlyn. Shelter for the night. What are you doing here? I'm a treasure hunter, of course. Oh my god, how perfect! Have you found any? Yes, more treasure than I can carry. But now I've found 3 strong, healthy, young men. If you help me carry some to my horses, you can take as much treasure as you want for yourselves. Oh, I told you there was treasure! In your face! Who was right? Oh yeah, Matt was right. We will help you carry the treasure, my strange, sketchy friend. Lead the way. Matt runs to Mordeth. Well, we can't just leave him. They follow Mordeth into the building and enter a dark hall, and then Mordeth leads them down winding stairs and it gets darker and darker as they go. Even Matt starts to feel a little weirded out. It's awfully dark. Yes, there are lights below. Come. Mordeth is a short, bald fellow. His clothes are embroidered and flared in a way Rand's never seen. But there's something else weird about Mordeth, and Rand can't figure out what. They go through a corridor into a torchlit room, and sure enough, there's treasure there. Lots of treasure, a dragon's hoard of treasure. Huge piles of gems and gold and goblets and jewels everywhere. Matt's cheering and running around like he just won The Price is Right. We'll need sacks to carry all of this! Not now, Matt. It's almost dark. Tomorrow. Moraine and Lan will understand when we show them this. Really, Perrin? Do you really think that? Anyway, Mordeth says, "You are not alone. Who else is with you?" Matt's making snow angels in the treasure, barely listening. Well, there's Moraine, Lan, Nynaeve, Egwene, Tom. He's a gleeman. We're going to Tar Valon. Tar Valon? You said you were going to this Caemlyn! You lied to me. If you want, we'll come back and help you tomorrow. No! I mean, yeah! And then Rand realizes what's bugging him. You don't have a shadow! That's what it is! Wait a minute. You don't have a shadow? What? Matt drops a goblet. It crashes on the floor. Mordeth starts to grow and swell until his head is against the ceiling and his shoulders are against the walls. What the hell? So, It is decided. He reaches for them with huge hands. Rand leaps back and falls. When Rand gets back up, giant Mordeth is gone. Perrin is clutching his axe, and Mat is holding a dagger that he grabbed from a treasure pile. Then they notice normal-sized Mordeth is huddling in the corner. He tricked us! Mordeth wails, and the walls tremble. You are all dead. All dead! He dives across the room, stretches out like a tendril of smoke, and vanishes into a crack in the wall. You are all dead! All dead! Let's get out of here. We can't leave the treasure! Really, Mat? Really? Rand and Perrin actually have to grab Mat by each arm and drag him out while he struggles. As they leave, the torches start to go out. Kinda freaky. Eventually, Mat gets on board with the idea of leaving. They rush up the stairs and back into the street. The sun is half set. The boys can feel eyes watching them from all directions. The shadows seem to be reaching for them. Okay, we stay in the middle of the street, keep out of the shadows, and walk fast. They speed walk back, knowing they're being watched. At one point, Rand thinks he hears laughter. What the Finally, the white stone building comes into sight, and the feeling of being watched vanishes. Rand, Mat, and Perrin run the rest of the way. They burst through the doorway, and they collapse. There's a small fire in the middle of the floor, and everyone but Lan is sitting by it. And they all look at the boys, who are catching their breath. You woolheads! What is wrong with you? Lan is out looking for you now! You should not have done what you did. Something happened out there. Tell me. You said it was safe! You said Aridhol was an ally of Manetheren, and the Trollocs wouldn't come into the city! And Moiraine says, that's a really good point, Mat. This is all my fault. No, I'm kidding. Can you imagine? She actually says, you saw Trollocs in the city? Not Trollocs. Mat, Rand, and Perrin all talk at once. So much treasure! We didn't ask if we could leave. We have to go get it. Followed a sketchy stranger. We need to dig a giant hole. Might not have been the best idea, so I can fill it with the treasure and go swimming in it. Moiraine is pretty chill while she's taking it in until Rand mentions Mordeth's name. Mordeth, did he touch you? Did he give you anything, or did you do anything for him? No, all he did was try to kill us. Safe, you said. All that talk about Trollocs not coming here, what were we supposed to think? Apparently, you did not think at all. Yeah, I won't say who's to blame, but his initials are Matrim Coffin. Yup. Anyway, late in the Trolloc Wars, an army camped within these ruins, thousands in all. When they did not come out, scouts were sent inside. They found weapons, bits of armor, and blood everywhere, and messages scratched on the walls calling on the Dark One to aid them in their last hour. And this is where you picked for us to hide? If you had not gone running off, you would know that I set wards around this building. What resides in Shadar Logoth will not cross them. Shadar Logoth? I thought you said the city was called Aridhol. Once it was called Aridhol, and you were definitely there when I mentioned that last chapter, but I'll let it slide. Aridhol was one of the 10 nations, the lands that stood against the Dark One after the breaking. Back when Thorin, Al-Torin, Al-Ban, Zeta Jones was king of Manetheren, the king of Aridhol was Balwin Mael, Balwin Ironhand, Balwin Jessica Parker. Mordeth came to Balwin's court and became seconds to the king. Aridhol began to change. Thorin's son Prince Karr tried to bring Aridhol back to the Second Covenant, and Balwin had him killed. Manetheren's army came to avenge the prince. They found no living thing here, but something worse than death. Suspicion and hate had fed on that which created it. Shadar still waits, hungering. Also, Mordeth is trapped here, and side note, he can possess you, consume your soul, and leave this place wearing your body. Spooky! Way to bury the lead, Moiraine. Try to sleep. The wards will protect us until Lan returns. Rand sleeps, but he has a nightmare where Mordeth is chasing him, shouting, I only want your hand! I only want your hand! Weird. Rand wakes up, and everyone's sleeping. Lan walks in, and Moiraine sits up. There are Trollocs inside the walls. They will be here in little more than an hour. We must leave. Leave the protection of the wards and cross Shadar Logoth in the night. Or stay and fight Trollocs, which would require the one power, which would destroy the wards I set, which would attract Shadar. Trust me, Wisdom. I know things. We will make for the river. Trollocs and Murdral loathe deep water. So once we cross the river, we're safe. Get to your horses. We are not across the river yet. And that's the end of the chapter, yes! Let me just put this away on this very real shelf behind me. Cool. So, I'd like to take a moment to thank our new Patreon members. Our new Wilder, Jessica. Our new novices and soldiers, Starsteel. And our new Aes Sedai and Ashaman. Twitch, Ionika Sedai. Welcome to the Littlest Tower! You are helping me improve the show and keep it going, the Light Illuminio. The next part of the video is the 13th Depository. I'm going to dive deep on the Wheel of Time and there might be spoilers. So if you haven't finished the books, I recommend not watching this part. I'm not gonna spoil the Wheel of Time for you, I'm not a monster. And if you haven't finished reading the Wheel of Time, this might sound nuts. I pronounce this meeting sealed to the flame. We are definitely going to talk about the history of Aridhol and the 10 Nations, but since Shadar shows up next chapter, we're gonna save it for next week. This is the second chapter in a row where Moiraine mentions Lan's connection to Malkier, so I thought it would be cool to spend a 13th Depository talking about Malkier's history. Malkier became a sovereign nation during the War of the 100 Years, which was the struggle for power that followed Hawkwing's death. The Seven Towers were Malkier's capital. Malkier was the northernmost part of the Borderlands, so given its location, it was the first line of defense from Shadowspawn coming from the Blight. Malkier stood against the Shadow for about 1,000 years. And then in 953 New Era, this Shakespearean drama goes down with the Mandragoran family and ruins everything. Quick family tree. Lan's parents were Leana and Malkier. Malkier's brother was Lane Mandragoran. Or maybe it's pronounced Lain Mandragoran, who knows? I'm supposed to be saying Lon instead of Lan, so at this point, does it matter? I'm gonna say Lane Mandragoran. Lane's wife was Brian Mandragoran, and they had a son named Isom, Lan's cousin. Isom later merged with Luke Mantier, Rand's uncle, and became Slayer. Does that mean Lan and Rand are related? Not really, but Lan's cousin and Rand's uncle do become the same person. I guess you could say Lan and Rand are related by a really dark up marriage. Anyway, Lane and Brian Mandragoran were super jealous of Malkier. They hated him. And there was this dark friend named Cowan Gamalin, aka Cowan Fairheart, who also hated the king. One day, Gamalin told Bran, "You should dare your husband to ride into the Blasted Lands, or maybe even Shale Ghul, and just fight a bunch of Shadowspawn and see what happens." Wouldn't that be so funny? And Bran's like, totally. So Bran convinces Lane to ride into the Blight with a bunch of men, and all of them die. And Bran is like, this is 100% Malkier's fault. He should have been there to help. Bran might have been a little crazy. As revenge, Bran plots with Gamalin to seize the Seven Towers and take the throne for her son Isom. Gamalin, who reminder is a dark friend, pulls soldiers away from the border, and Trollocs start pouring into Malkier, destroying the kingdom as they go. Eventually, it's discovered that Gamalin is a dark friend. Jane Farstrider catches him, and Malkier slays him in single combat. And at that point, it's too late. Malkier is falling to the shadow. Malkier and Leana put the sword of Malkiri kings in baby Lan's hands. They declare him Daishan, Battle Lord, in the old tongue. They consecrated Lan as Malkier's next king, and on his behalf, they swore the oath of Malkiri kings and queens. To stand against the shadow so long as iron is hard and stone abides. To defend the Malkiri while one drop of blood remains. To avenge what cannot be defended. 20 men are chosen from the king's bodyguard to bring Lan to Fal Moran in Shinar. Then Lan's parents lead the Malkiri to face the shadow one last time, and they're killed at Harrod's Crossing. Malkier was overrun by Shadowspawn. Only 5 of Lan's 20 bodyguards made it to Fal Moran. All of them wounded. Those surviving 5 teach Lan his heritage and how to fight. When Lan is 16, they give him the Hadori, which by Malkiri custom makes him a man. They call it the beginning of his war to avenge Malkier. Not defend Malkier, because Malkier is gone. Avenge Malkier. And until Nynaeve tells everyone what's what, that is the mindset Lan's in. He is not the king of Malkier because Malkier is dead. Lan is sworn to fight an unwinnable battle for a nation that no longer exists. And Nynaeve says, no, if you're going to fight for Malkier, we need to bring Malkier back and give the Shadow a real fight. I don't care who says Malkier is dead. Those people, let's do this. Her attitude embodies everything that Malkier stands for. We are not dead until we're dead. Let's go kick some ass. She may not be Malkiri by blood, but Nynaeve's heart is Malkiri, and I love her for that. And I love Malkier. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. If you can like the video and subscribe, that would be fabulous. If you'd like to help Wheel Talk continue and improve, the best way is by sponsoring the show on Patreon. There's a link in the notes, and if you can support it any level, it's truly appreciated. We love our patrons! And until next week, walk in the light, and keep it wheel. By the way, to anyone who feels like the bookshelf doesn't look real, it is. Don't worry about it.